Alright, what's going on YouTube? In today's video, I'm going to be showing you guys how you can actually start cashing a lot more of your parlays. I talk to a lot of you guys on my Discord and read your guys' comments and my DMs. A lot of you guys are pretty bad with your parlays. Now, using these tips and these habits that I've applied that I'm going to go over in this video, you will definitely see a visibly noticeable increase in your hit rates, in your percentages, and in your profits in general. So the first thing that I actually stopped doing, which a lot of you guys I would assume are on PrizePicks, so this one is for you. Never play a 3-leg parlay on PrizePicks. Every single time I see a TikToker or an Instagram reel posting about their Discord, their premium Discord, and they are posting wins with 3 legs on them, they don't know what they're doing, and I promise you everything is photoshopped. It's all for marketing. 3-leg parlays, you will end up in a terrible negative downhill profit slope if you are doing these in the long run. Now, the reason is PrizePicks is a fixed payout system, meaning you can take the over or the under on a prop. No matter what you combine it with, you're still going to get paid the same amount of money. Now, I believe on PrizePicks it is a 5x payout for a 3-leg ticket. Now, if you were to bet the same legs on Underdog with a 3-leg, Underdog is a similar fantasy sports betting app, right? You can parlay this and that, similar fixed payouts, but the 3-leg on Underdog pays you out a 6x. Now, a 6x versus a 5x for the same amount of players in a ticket. In the very long run of things, you might cash, your 3-leg parlays here. You go, oh, 3 legs, I've been cashing a lot of them. In the long run, you are going to lose because there are people getting a lot of value on Underdog, with the 6x when they are only getting paid out 5x for some people on PrizePicks. So, first tip is to quit the 3-leg parlay on PrizePicks in general. And then moving on to tip number 2 is to be line shopping. I made a lot of TikToks about this, a lot of, just content in general about line shopping, and a lot of the people in the comments just don't understand. So in this video, I'm going to kind of break it down a lot better because I know it can be complicated, especially to the newer sports bettor, the average sports bettor that doesn't really know anything about math and data and all of these things, right? So how line shopping works, what it means is essentially, there's so many different apps, so many different sports books, and each of them are setting, their own lines and these odds independently. So each of them are doing it by themselves, right? There's not like one grand, sports book that they're all copying from and stuff like that. So each app is setting their lines independently, meaning sometimes there will be large inconsistencies in the sports betting market, right? So if we have a player's points at 8.5 on PrizePicks, the book next to it could have that same player's points at 11.5, right? So you kind of see what I'm saying with these mispriced lines, you could call them. But the great thing about this is, I hate math. I hate doing all of this research and data stuff. So the OddsJam software actually makes this whole process a lot easier by scanning, the millions of sports books and all of the lines in every single sports book and just pasting them in a very easy to use, user interface. You can come over to the Fantasy Optimizer tool here, and you can literally see all of the different fantasy apps that it has data for, scanning the millions and millions of lines in each sports book and just pasting them onto this table for you to see here. Green is good, yellow is okay, and red is a negative EV stance. So basically, you just want to keep on searching for inconsistencies within the market. So for example, like if earlier I said we have a player's points at 8.5, and let's say like 5 other sports books has that line at 12.5, right? Book 1 is very clearly mispriced compared to the rest of the market, so you would want to take the over on book 1 because you're getting a discount, right? Let's say for example you were to take the 12.5 line. You're literally getting ripped off because another party is offering it for a cheaper price. So very similar to if you shop at, I don't know, Chanel. They have a Chanel dress for $1,400, but you see the exact same dress at Nordstrom's Rack for $500. Right? I don't know the math there, but that's like a $900 discount. Very similarly to the sports betting market, there's a lot of mispriced things or mispriced odds and lines that you can take advantage of, and you should always be scouring for, especially if you're trying to be a profitable sports bettor and hit more parlays. Because if you combine these parlays with better lines and when you're just getting discounts, you're going to be profitable in the long term. Number 3 is actually a very underrated tip, and it's more of a lifestyle habit that you should be adding to your daily routine, and it's waking up early. So waking up early allows you to catch a lot more value because, like I said in tip number 2, lines are always changing, they're always moving. With different data sources coming in, the lines could shift up, they could shift down, right? So what we want to be doing is giving ourselves enough time to catch as much value as possible throughout the day. A lot of people literally will just wake up at 2 o'clock in the afternoon and then try and get some slips in before maybe 30 minutes or an hour before the game starts. Yeah, that works. Sometimes there's going to be a lot of value in between those times as well, but there are certain optimal times throughout the day that you should be periodically checking, to see if there's any value. And like I said, the OddsJam tool makes this thing super easy for us, sends us notifications anytime there's opportunities in the market and things like that. But yeah, waking up early is a huge underrated one that I never see a lot of content creators talking about. But the amount of value that I've caught in literally at like 9, 10 in the morning or 8 in the morning when I wake up is insane, right? Because I'll literally see like a slip half awake at 8:30 in the morning, or like some value, lock that in on PrizePicks, and when I wake up at like 30 minutes later, 9 out of bed, it's gone. Like, it's changed already. So locking in value super early is important, and the only way to do that is to give yourself enough time by waking up early. And tip number 4 is actually going to be one of my most important ones in this entire video, and it's going to be on as many sportsbook apps as possible. Now, I'm literally talking about as many as you humanly can get on that's legal in your area, right? PrizePicks, Underdog, Dabble. If you have access to FanDuel, DraftKings, every book that you can possibly get on. Even you guys in California have a lot of options, right? PrizePicks, Underdog, all these fantasy apps. My point is, getting on more sports books allows you to take advantage of promotions, deposit bonuses, deposit matches, and just catch a lot more value in the long term. But yeah, if you remember the first clip, I mentioned how Underdog has a 6x payout compared to the 5x for 3-leg tickets on PrizePicks. This is like another example of why you should be on as many sportsbooks as possible. Now, especially with these fixed payout fantasy apps, just being able to compare odds, compare lines to the rest of the market, there's just going to be so many more opportunities if you are on 5 sports books compared to just PrizePicks, right? That leaves like 4 other sports books for you to actually see, mess up their lines, catch value off of, and things like that. And when you combine that with, waking up early at 8 o'clock in the morning to see, scan the entire board with all of these sports books that you're on, you're going to end up with a lot more money in your back pocket at the end of the day. And last but not least is to learn how to take an L. This is a huge one, especially for you emotional ass sports bettors. So many of you will have 3 parlays throughout the day. They'll all chalk, and then last game, I just want to get something in. You saw all of those props before, you didn't take them. The only reason you're taking them is to kind of throw a Hail Mary and kind of get your money back, right? That is horrible. That is called rage betting. That is called chasing your losses. And that leads to so much, just unrecognized lost money. A lot of times you'll just be like, oh, I'm already down $100. Why not just throw in another $50 and try to make that back? Next thing you know, you're down $150. And this is a lot of the times you'll hear me mention bankroll management, especially with emotional sports bettors. This is kind of where they'll start to put more money to make their money back. Some people call it a get even or get even worse. I think that's hilarious, but don't do that. You lose so much money from it. Take it from me, because I used to do that a lot. I never knew how to take an L, and I would just always rage bet, try to get some units back. But moral of the story is, that's not smart, that's not responsible, and we should be treating this like investing instead of gambling. So if you apply all 5 of these and are actually consistent with them, I guarantee you will see a huge increase in your win rates and in your percentages and all of these things. But with that being said, that's gonna wrap it up for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed. Leave a like, comment what you want to see next, and subscribe and turn your notification bells for more educational sports betting content like this. And as always, DM or comment whatever if you need any help, but I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.